In the last lecture, we have talked about the meaning of management, functions of management. In fact, we have understood the process of management, and later on, we have talked about the modern management and the scientific management in detail. Today, we are going to talk about the School of Management thoughts. Students, after First and Second World War, what has happened? The competition has grown up drastically, and because of growing competition, complexity of the large businesses, technological innovations into the market, increase in capital investment requirement, then the freedom which has been given for the national and international markets has emerged the school of management thoughts, and they have given different theoretical frameworks for the study of management. These are the six school of thoughts which are being given, or the theoretical frameworks which are being explained by the school of management thoughts. Empirical approach, management process school, human behavior approach, social school of management, contingency or situational approach, and the last one, system approach. We are going to understand them one by one. The first one is an empirical approach. This approach is also known as the case study approach or the management experience approach. The reason behind calling it as a case study approach is that it is based on the past experience of the management people. It adapts the method of successful managers. What has been that whatever has been adapted in the past by the successful managers, it would be followed blindly over here. And the actions which has not been given any successful result are been avoided. And this has been told by empirical approach. When we talk about the advantages, it is very simple. Why? Because whatever has happened in the past, the same thing you have to just adapt. It gives you the guidance for the decision making into the similar type of problem. It increases the confidence. Why? Because you do have something as evidence in front of you. That is why it is useful to solve the problem, and it is even useful to train the future managers, and it is very easy to acquire, or this particular approach in fact makes very easy to acquire the skills of management. Limitations, if we can talk about, like the similar actions which are being taken in the past cannot be repeated in the future. It means all the business organizations or the business environments are not always same and stable. Subjective applicability of successful method. It might happen that the method, a particular method was successful for one particular organization, or a typical type of problem might not be successful or proven to be successful for the another type of organization. That is why. So as a result, what is happening over here, that the ready-made, the past experiences or the case studies or the models are there of the past experiences are restraining the managers for going for any innovative techniques or the new methods as far as decision making concerned in management, and a comparison becomes very difficult as no variation in methods of execution. When you are talking about the performance appraisal of the various candidates at that time, because they are simply adapting the past method, so it becomes quite difficult for at that time to to appraise them properly. So it has been said that never limit your view of life by any past experience. No, the empirical approach has talked about the past experience, but the study and an experience says that you should not limit yourself for the past experiences. The next approach is known as the management process approach. And why it is known as the management process approach? Why? Because the functions of management, that is planning, organizing, staffing, directing, controlling, These are the functions whereon the management process approach has concentrated and emphasized. It is universally applicable, and that is why it is considered as the best approach, and it is very flexible to adapt into any kind of organization. Let it be any type of organization, the functions of management will always remain same. It increases the confidence level of the managers, and hence it guides to them for the various types of decision making, and because it helps into the decision making, it would be quite easy for the management to solve the problems of any level and any kind. The third approach is the human behavior approach. It is also known as human relation approach, because now why it is human behavior or a human relation approach? Because it emphasizes specifically the human behavior. In fact, it keeps the human behavior at the center of each decision. That is why it is known as human behavior approach. It is divided into two groups: interpersonal behavioral approach and group behavioral approach over here. So, there are certain advantages of this particular approach. When we are talking about the interpersonal approach or interpersonal behavior, it means that the individual psychology, that as an individual, an employee, what thinks or what his psychology talks about, and group behavior means over here a social psychology. So what are the advantages of this particular approach? It helps in achievement of the goal. Why? Because they are always taking into consideration the human behavior, and they are giving more importance to the human behavior, helps in making people more effective and increase in job satisfaction and concentration of the employees. Like what is happening, that the approach itself has told that you should always motivate as employer, you should always motivate the employee, you should always instigate them to come out with the new innovative techniques. They should always initiate the process, and as a result the employees feel that they have been concentrated, and as a result the job satisfaction ratio is automatically going up. But the understanding the limitations of this particular approach, it is very difficult for an individual to understand the human behavior, like how he will act or react to a particular situation. This particular approach is not universally applicable, as the like features of every individual changes. It instigates the avoidance of work and inefficiency. Why? Because the employees will feel that they have been given importance, and they may take the disadvantage of this particular attitude of the management. And only human behavior cannot be kept at the center while going for any type of decision making, because there are various other physical factors, those who are contributing a lot or equally to the success of the organization. Next is the social school of management. This approach resembles the human behavior approach, and it understands the group behavior is very important. Like what social school of management, in the human behavior approach, two things are being emphasized, like the individual behavior as well as the group behavior. And here understanding the group behavior is more important. That is what has been told by social school of management. It always efforts for harmonization of organizational goals and the group goals. So this is what called out of one of the 14 principles, Spirit the cog, that there has to be a harmonization in a group, and the group of the organization should work into a unity, and that is what is to be achieved over here. Organization is a social system, and it consists of number of groups. Like there can be n number of groups in an organization, and keeping all these groups together will only become an organization, and always the group behavior will also be important. Two types of organizations are always there: formal and informal. Formal organizations are those which are there as an outcome of rules and regulations, and informal organizations are the friendly and homely environment organization wherein there are no rules and regulations. The employees are very free with each other and they are very harmonious with each other. It emphasizes on the social relations but not on a physical aspect. The same thing like the human behavior approach has given more importance to the human behavior. Here the importance has been given to the group behavior. And the study of group behavior is not the only aspect of the management. This we cannot keep aside. Next one is the system approach. System means a system is composed of the elements or subsystems that are related and interdependent. Like when you talk about an organization, you will find that there are like open system and closed system. It means there are individuals also, those who are working, and there are certain physical aspects like tools, machineries and all, which are playing an important role. So all these components or the elements or the subsystems becomes the entire system of an organization. So like human body, like if we can talk about a human body or a car, all the parts of our body should work properly so as to keep our body healthy and fit. The same way, if you want to have a good mileage, then in that case the parts of the car should be ideally located. System is not only a total of all parts, but their arrangement is equally important. Yes, so it is not only a total, like if you want to assemble a car, like you just keep all the parts of the car at one particular place, and if you cannot say that the car is over, no, those parts has to be placed properly, and that is what you must have experienced in our house even, and in the different types of organizations even. The tools, techniques and the machineries are even arranged properly. There are two types of system, open system and closed system, which I have already talked about. Open system means all living organisms which are there into an organization, and all non-living organisms or the systems are known as the closed system, and both of them are equally important and interrelated and interdependent. The system approach points out the role of synergy in the management. Synergy means 2 plus 2 is equal to 4 mathematically. But when you talk about the synergy, 2 plus 2 is equal to 5, 6, 7, 8. Like the value of these two numbers should be greater than that of the addition. And that is what expected out of the system approach. Managers should always avoid analyzing the problems in isolation, but rather they should go for integrating thinking. Like rather than discussing or thinking on a problem in an isolation means thinking alone, the manager should be open enough to get the suggestions and interact the problems with the subordinates and the other colleagues even. The system approach lacks the universality as not applicable to all types of organization, and it sometimes becomes very too wide and too expensive when you are talking actually about the closed system like management or the systematic arrangement of all non-living systems into an organization. The last approach over here is the contingency or a situational approach. Contingency or a situational approach, it is an extension of a system approach. Like here it has been said that each organizations are very unique and each situation is different, and hence it requires a contingent solution. What this approach says that every situation cannot have a similar or a homogeneous kind of solution. No, the parameters, the features of every particular organization or a situations will definitely be different, and they should have the different types of solutions. That is why functional, behavioral, qualitative tools of management should be applied situationally. It is again not universally applicable, that the solution for one particular type of problem cannot be the solution for the another type of problem. No past preferences you will find over here. You would be starting from the scratch or from the zero level. It would be reactive in nature. Why? Because the problem takes place and then you are coming out, like you are trying to react for that, and it seems to be simple but complex into the practice. Like you can just talk about, yeah, it is very simple to implement, yes, this is how you can do, but when it is actually implementing, it becomes very complex. So these are all the 6 approaches which are being given by the School of Management thoughts. Now we will understand the Hawthorne experiment. Like when we are talking about the Hawthorne experiment, at that time what has been noted that the Taylor or the Fayol, they have given importance to the technical aspects of management. They have talked about the functions of management, then they have talked about the managerial level, everything, but no or a little attention was given to the human aspects over there, and that is why this particular experiment has taken place in November 1924 at Western Electric Company's Hawthorne plant at Chicago, USA. The test was sponsored by the National Research Council of National Academy of Services. In the year 1927, a team led by George Alton Mayo from Harvard Business School carried out the study. This experiment has actually started from the year 1924, but with the first experiences has given an unanticipated result. Mr. George Alton Mayo has led a team to take the study further. George Alton Mayo is considered as the father of human relation movement. So when we talk about the Hawthorne experiment, the experiment has started in the year 1924 and it has ended in the year 1932. It has been conducted into 4 parts. The part 1 is elimination experiment. 2. Relay assembly test room study. 3rd. Mass interviewing program. And the 4th. Bank wiring observation room experiment. So the Hawthorne experiment has actually been conducted into 4 parts. First part is the elimination studies. This is again funded by the General Electric because of the unanticipated impact of this particular first part. Alton Mayo has taken the study further with a team of the experts. Now here this particular elimination studies are conducted by the National Research Council of National Academy of Science with engineers from MIT, measured light intensity versus workers output. So what I have done, like 2 types of workers selected, one group in which the lighting was constant and the another wherein the lighting was not constant. So what has been observed over there, that even when the lighting was decreased, the production in the other group did not decrease. The production decreased only when the lighting was reduced at the moonlight level, where workers were not able to see the things properly. So it was concluded over here that the factors other than the light were also important, like only physical factors are not responsible for the outcome or the success of any of the management or any of the organization. So once again, light intensity has no conclusive effect on the output. Productivity has a psychological component, that is researchers' interactions with the workers influence the higher performance. The second part of the Hawthorne experiment was the relay assembly room. Wherein here certain changes were introduced to examine the impact of the production. So what were those measures? Like some changes have been made into the pay incentives, length of the work day and the work week, use of the rest period and the company sponsored meal. These are the 4 things which has been done over here. So as far as pay incentives, each girl pay was based on the other 5 girls in the group, like the groups of 6 girls in a group has been made, and the length of the work day was 5 till 5 p.m., 4:30 p.m. and 4 p.m. and use of rest period 2 of 5 minutes break. There were 2 breaks of 5 minutes. And as a meal, they were provided with the morning coffee, soup along with the sandwiches. What has been observed over here, that a higher output and a greater employee satisfaction with this, even if there were factors or the measures, factors of production were manipulated at the certain level. So, here researchers concluded that these changes were not responsible for efficiency, but other factors like attitude towards the work, friendly supervisor, environment were, even the environment on an organization was responsible for the increased productivity. So, positive effect even with negative influences, like even there was somebody was there to observe them or look after them, workers output will increase as a response to attention, like they have taken it very positively. And strong social bonds between the group of 6 girls have proved the test this particular assembly group very positive. Workers are influenced by need for recognition, security and sense of belonging. In a nutshell, this has been done. This is what a pictorial view of the Hawthorne experiment. The third part was the bank wiring observation group. It has taken place between 1931 to 1932. Here in this study, a group of 14 men were engaged in bank wiring, that is attaching wires to switches for certain parts of telephone equipment. The 14 participants in the experiment were asked to assemble telephone wiring to produce the terminal band. This time no changes were made into the physical working conditions, but the workers were paid on the basis of the incentive pay plan, under which their pay increased as their output increased. This is what the bank wiring experience, bank wiring observation room experience. As a result of this particular experiment, what has been contributed, like organization is a social system with culture. Informal groups have a positive impact on the workers' productivity. Free flow of communication is good for the human behavior, and friendly supervision has a favorable impact or an influence. And the last part of the Hawthorne experiment was mass interviewing program. Actually the interviews were conducted for almost 21,000 individuals, like conducted 21,000 interviews, and the objective behind this particular exercise was to explore information which could be useful to improve the supervisory training. Like management wanted to know that the supervision or the monitoring which has been conducted at the organization level is useful or not. So initially use the method for the direct questioning, but later on it has been observed that they are not the method is not fruitful enough. That is why they have changed the method to the non-directive directive method over here. So because they have opted for the more mass interviewing program, they could make out that what kind of changes are required at the supervisory level. So this is what regarding the Hawthorne experiment. What we have understood into the first chapter, the functions of management, meaning the first we have started with the management functions. We have understood the scientific management, which has been given by F.W. Taylor. Apart from that, Henry Fayol's modern management we have understood. Then we have understood the school of management thoughts, and lastly we have understood the Hawthorne experiment. Thank you.